A pleasant and joyful morning, everyone, especially to our teacher, Forester Jakilo Zidakola. So, by the way, we are the group those. So, I am Junnel Banguis. So, I am the first reporter of our group. So, my topic is all about Executive Order number 263, entitled Adopting Community-Based Forest Management as the National Strategy to ensure the sustainable development of the country's forest lands resources and providing mechanism for its implementation. So this Executive Order number 263 was signed during the presidency of Fidel B. Ramos. Together with Executive Secretary, we have Ruben D. Torres. So date of approval was July 19, 1995. So this executive order number 263 has different understatements. So the first understatement is whereas Article 2, Section 16 of the 1987 Constitution or Philippines Constitution. So in this constitution, so there are 18 articles. So Article 2 is all about the declaration of principle and state policies. So this whereas talks about the protection and advancement of the rights of the Filipino people, both men and women, to a healthful and balanced ecology. So also this whereas addresses the ecological problems of the country such as pollution, waste disposal, flood droughts, and so on and so forth. So with these rights, so the balanced and healthful ecology carries it to a collaborative duty to refrain from impairing the environment. So it is the paramount obligation of the state to safeguard the ecology to have a healthful and balanced ecology. So another whereas Article 2 Section 10 provides for the promotion of social justice to all citizens in all phases of national development. So it talks about the state must give preferential attention, especially those less fortunate members of the community. So we have the uneducated, the unprivileged, or disabled. And the state also must give or provide them with social services, promote full employment, raising standard life, and also improve their quality of life for all. So another whereas is whereas Article 14 Section 17 mandates that the state to recognize and respect the rights of the indigenous peoples to their ancestral domains and consider their customs, traditions, and beliefs in the formulations of laws and policy. So this Articles 14 talks about the education, science, technology, arts, culture, and sports. So that's why we have this Indigenous People Rights Act of 1997 or the Republic Act of 8371. It is to recognize and advocate the rights of indigenous peoples in the Philippines. So the state shall recognize, protect, and preserve the rights of IPs to preserve and develop their cultures, traditions, and institutions, also their ancestral domain to ensure their economic and social, cultural well-being, and recognize the applicability of customary laws governing property rights or relation in determining the ownership and extent of ancestral domain. So another whereas Executive Order number 192 series of 1987 or the mandates of Department of Environment and Natural Resources. So as the primary government agency responsible for sustainable management and development of the country's natural resources, not only for the present generation but also for the future generation as well. So another whereas, so we have the Philippines 2000 and the government social reform agenda support people empowerment and the full, meaningful, and indispensable participation of communities as immediate stakeholders of the forest lands resources in the protection and management of the forest ecosystems. So when we say social reform agenda, it is an equal partnership with the different sectors. So we have the sectors of fisher folks and the indigenous people. So through appropriate and meaningful consultation and participation in governance. So the sectors must be granted access to quality basic service and to productive resources and economic opportunities. Section 1 is the Community-Based Forest Management, or the CBFM, shall be national strategy to achieve sustainable forestry and social justice. So CBFM is a Filipino government program to encourage reforestation and sustainable forest management. So this Executive Order number 263 was enacted to reduce poverty or to give social justice or social services for those IPs, and of course to have a sustainable forest management. Section 2 is the DNR through its community and provincial environment and natural resources offices, or the CENRO or the PENRO, in coordination with the LGUs and DILG, shall at all times take into account the needs and the aspiration of local communities whose livelihood depends on the forest lands. So these three public agencies, they are going to monitor the local communities that their livelihood depends on the forest lands. They should monitor if the communities if they violate the laws of the DNR or they don't. So Section 4. So the indigenous peoples or the IPs may participate in the implementation of CBFM activities in recognition of their rights to their ancestral domains and lands, rights and claims. So that's why we have this EPRA, or the Indigenous People Rights Act, the Republic Act 8371. It talks about, or it's recognize and advocate the rights of the indigenous peoples in the Philippines, and also their rights in ancestral domains and their land rights and their claims. So Section 5. So a CBFM steering committee shall be created immediately and headed by the DNR with members from DA, DTI, DAR, Department of Finance, DOST, Department of Labor and Employment, the DILG, the Department of Budget and Management. We have the Department of National Defense and Justice. We have the National Economic Development Authority, and as well as the NGOs. So the community may invite representatives from the Philippines Chamber and Commerce. We have the Philippine Wood Product Associations and the NGO Curation Group and the public and a private organization to become members to the steering committee. So when we say steering committee, it is the rules of the steering committee is to provide advice, ensure delivery of the project of CBFM and to achieve the project outcomes. So the community shall formulate and develop policy guidelines that will create an incentive and condition necessary to effectively carry out the community-based forestry management strategy. So CBFM steering committee should at least be represented by concerned assistant secretaries or heads of bureaus and agencies. Section 6. So the DNR shall work with local governments, people's organizations, or the POs, non-government organizations, or the NGOs, religious groups, businesses and industry, and other concerned organizations, because they want to ensure that the community are empowered to initiate and to achieve the objectives of this order. Section 7. So it is the budget preparation. So the DNR shall allot adequate funds for effectively accomplish CBFM targets and shall seek supplementary funding from local and foreign supporting agencies and organizations. So dapat na ay sapat na pondo ang Department of Environment to accomplish the CBFM targets and especially their projects. Section 8 is all about the DNR shall establish a community-based forest management special account. So it is to ensure the implementation of the strategy and provide financial and professional incentive systems for deserving communities and government personnel. So Section 9, so the DNR may source local and international grants and donations for the establishment of the CBFM special account. So other sources of the fund may be determined by the DCBFM Steering Committee. So Section 10. So the DNR shall support and set up jointly with relevant colleges and universities, private and public organizations, arrangement for the community forestry training program for the members of participating units such as people's organizations, the NGOs, the LGUs, and the other government personnel. So it is all about giving or sharing information, providing trainings and seminars for them to be aware what to do and what they should not do. So Section 12 is all about the DNR Secretary shall issue new rules, regulations, procedures, and guidelines necessary to implement this order and repeal or modify existing ones consistent with the policies set forth by the CBFM steering committee. So after all, so that's why we have this DAO 2004 to 229. It is the revised rules and regulation for the implementations of Executive Order number 263. So Section 13. So the DNR Secretary shall, or within 6 months from the signing of this order, submit to the Office of the President a National Comprehensive Committee Forestry Action Plan which embodies the department's short, medium, and long-term plans. So the action plans shall be discussed and approved by the CBFM Steering Committee prior to its submission to the President. So one of their action plans, for example, the Philippines Master Plan for Climate Change Resilient Forestry Development. It is to strengthen resilience of forest ecosystem and to promote responsive governments.